Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I first just have to thank you for coming in all the rain and the traffic and all that's going on out there. You all made it to the early here. So thank you for coming. Well, we're here, of course, for the book launch of Natural Plant-Based Remedies, your gateway to health, healing, and well-being. We are delighted to welcome you to the celebration of the journey towards preserving our culture for generations to come as we launch the book, Natural Plant-Based Remedies, your gateway to health, healing, and well-being, which highlights the power of herbs for healing and ultimately strengthening communities in the Caribbean and elsewhere. So this is the mission and the journey that the authors have. The theme of this event is preserving our heritage for generations to come. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to the authors of this book. And ladies first, so first we have Dr. Paula Lockhart. I'll give a little biography on Dr. Lockhart, so you have a bit familiar with her and her achievements and her qualifications. Dr. Paula Lockhart is a native of Point Michelle, Dominica. She attended St. Luke's Primary School and then the Convent High School. She is a proud member of both the class of 1997 and the class of 1998 after a traumatic brain injury in 1995. She shifted in her class ranking. Dr. Lockhart's professional and academic experiences are in the areas of education and training, human wellness and development and international relations, as well as conflict and crisis management and resolution. Her expertise is in finding the root cause of problems and guiding patrons towards finding solutions. The field which led her to focus her work on helping individuals and communities to solve their health and challenges on their way to sustainable development. Dr. Lockhart holds bachelor's degrees in international studies and in French from the University of Mississippi, and a master's degree in international relations from IE Business School Institute of de Empresa in Madrid, Spain, specializing in development, economics, and community negotiations. She also holds a master's degree in French from the University of Mississippi, specializing in social and cultural relations. Additionally, she holds a master's degree in political science from Sir Ross State University and a PhD in conflict analysis and resolution from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She has worked with local, state, and national government agencies in the United States, the Caribbean, and South and Central America, as well as Africa and elsewhere, and has held very professional positions with international organizations such as the OAS, Organization of American States, in Washington, D.C., and the Malcolm Institute of Technology in Ghana, West Africa. Dr. Lockhart has served as a teacher, advisor, and professor at the high school, college, university, and postgraduate levels. While conducting research and exploring plant-based medicines and their historic evidence with healing and well-being, a well-rounded, skilled professional, she continues to engage in global development initiatives, particularly focusing on how to build capacity and promote human development by securing healthy communities as the first step towards peace and development. Dr. Lockhart remains committed to community empowerment and hopes to bring about synergies across local and regional health platforms. She looks forward to the days when preventative actions rooted in the understanding and use of natural plant-based medicines will support healthy communities and ease the burdens and reliance on conventional medicines, improving and increasing access and affordability in the area of health. So this is Dr. Paula Lockhart. The next up is Renaud Deschamps. Mr. Renaud Deschamps, aka Mr. Deschamps, is a man of our soil, well, almost our soil, our sister island, Dominica. who worked as a trained pharmacist, trained with dispensing and formulating drug medications and serving the public at a local pharmacy for 3 years. He, however, transitioned to conduct direct research in the wild and in the company of knowledgeable indigenous elders living off the land. He spent years learning about the natural herbs and plants native to Dominica and other parts of the Caribbean and wrote. Mr. Deja also worked under Master Herbalist Ferdinand Charles for a number of years and was a member of the Caribbean Herbal Business Association starting in 2006. And later a member of the Dominican Herbal Association where he served a term as president of the organization. During his time with these organizations, he traveled and completed a number of trainings in Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Lucia, and other parts of the Caribbean and the region, participating in seminars and workshops on herbal medicine, quality assurance, and other areas related to the field of herbal medicine practice. In support of the herbal industry, Mr. Deja founded his own company, Roots Herbal Remedies. Inspired by the mission to promote the value of herbal medicines as a credible part of the primary healthcare system in our communities, as well as to promote a sustainable herbal medicine industry. He believes in promoting wellness and healing that stem from the natural resources available to us in our homeland, and as such has dedicated his life and service to this mission. Mr. Deja specializes in the areas of nutrition, herbal medicines, and physical therapy, such as massages and applications using healing oils, poultice applications, and other similar therapies. He was the owner and operator of a vegan restaurant, Roots Healing Foods in Roseau, and continues to promote nutrition as a key part of healing and healthy sustenance of communities and families. And here we have Mr. Deja as his affectionately called. Okay, so now we're going to move over to the documenting and knowledge sharing and book presentation and excerpts. So I'm going to hand over now to Dr. Paula Lockhart, the co-author of this wonderful book, and she will tell you all about it.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very, very much. And I'm grateful that you and St. Lucia are open to what we have as resources here in the Caribbean. And you heard this long intro. Dr. Lockhart studied international relations, had a master in French, and a master in international relations, and a master in political science, and international studies bachelor's, and blah, 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 and a PhD in conflict resolution. And I'll tell you this, at every stage of my academic study and professional life, the Caribbean has been my focus. And what I mean by that is when I did my undergrad in international studies, my research focus was the microstate dilemma, the stresses and problems that we as small microstate islands, small island developing states, had, the issues we suffered, the issues we had to deal with being small, being insular, how we get financing, how we deal with health, how we deal with education. Then at the master's level, same thing, my focus was on how we communicate and build our societies. Then again, at the second master, third master, focusing on the Caribbean. So the Caribbean and what's going on here has always been the root and at the heart of what I do. And then more and more I realized, but wait a minute, we have all these resources. We have all this goodness. And in my research, the Caribbean was always on top. We had 97% literacy rate, 99% literacy Jamaica, Cuba, Dominica. We were on the top. Our health statistics were top. When I did it top, our health statistics that we're talking about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, so I did my undergrad in 1999, 2000. We were on top. We were the number one in health. We were number one in access to water. Then the Millennium Development Goals came about. Access to water, the Caribbean had the best levels of potable water. Then fast forward 20 years, as I got old, I'm doing another master's, a PhD. We're using the Caribbean again. Now I'm seeing the Caribbean has the highest levels of diabetes, the highest levels of hypertension. What? How is that possible? So this book and this project came about, I have to say, over this time, because I saw my island, my people, my Caribbean region, my sweet Caribbean and CARICOM region shift. There was a shift, and in my work, I started seeing people who needed help and wellness and well-being options. Because people will take a pill, and there was most of the times they manage symptoms, but they don't get healing. So I started looking for how to find the root causes of issues and ailments for people. And that's how this book project came about. We needed to start to document what we had as a Caribbean people, what we could do, how we could move to this next phase, how we could rechannel and repurpose ourselves to find peace, to find purpose, to find healing. And so it's almost by the grace of God, I fell upon Mr. Deja and saw that he had been doing this for 20 plus years, healing people from all of these ailments. And many of my clients needed that healing, that wellness, that option. And dozens of them started seeing results, so I started partnering with him more and more. And then he said, you know what, let's start putting this together. Let's start telling people what we have got in the Caribbean. And I said, you know what, I can't tell people anything if I don't document it properly and do the research and make sure this is evidence-based, make sure this is empirical-based. So we started doing this research, and I started going back and forth, trying to find out what led us to all this diabetes, what led us to all this cancer, and what can be done to reverse this based on his practice, based on practices from hundreds of years before, thousands of years before, and that is how this project came about, to help us share knowledge, build best practices, share best practices, and bring the information to St. Lucia, to Dominica, to the rest of the Caribbean. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being open to this message of knowledge and well-being. And Mr. Deja will actually do a presentation after he talks about how he ended up here also. After he makes a intro, we will do a few excerpts from the book, and he will give an in-depth verbal presentation for you. So welcome and thank you.
So we are going to go into the segment with book presentation and excerpts. And I'm handing you back to Dr. Paula Lockhart, who will give you first our reality.
So in this portion of the program, you have to find a partner. You have to find a partner, so start looking around now. It's going to be about 2 minutes. We're going to ask you, everybody here is St. Lucian or lives in the island, yes? We're going to ask you to sit with your partner and take 30 minutes, first take 30 seconds, to think about what you used to do when you were a child. What you used to do as development has come to St. Lucia. How has that changed your life and how you do what you do? So those are two key things, your food and your activities, and also your water levels, your fruits and vegetable intake. Talk about how things have changed. Okay, just 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. Now is your time. Go. I'm very curious because I've seen people talking and their hands moving. And I'm so curious about what you found that has changed. And then the challenge for us tonight is to reach back and figure out what do we need to go back to get to where we need to be. Because I'm sure you've seen some of the things that have changed, not the best things, right? We moved from guava juice and cane juice and tamarind juice to juicy and Fanta and Sprite more than anything else, right? And we moved from guavas and tamarind balls and tablets and all those things to just Cricks biscuits and sweet biscuits and American cookies and those things, right? We saw that, I'm sure. So I want to tell you about my experience 20 years ago, and even more than 20 years ago. So you may have noticed that I look a little wonky sometimes. I think God made me beautiful and amazing, but I had an accident when I was 14. So in 1995, a rock fell on my head and popped my brain out of my body. So I actually live without this right half of my brain. And if you look at the scan, you can see that the brain tissue is not in my head. So supposedly, I'm supposed to be paralyzed on this entire side, on both sides, and the part of my brain for speech is supposedly not in my head, but I'm talking to you today. So I'm one of those living testimonies. I am absolutely one of those living testimonies of the power of what we have here in the Caribbean. What we have, because you know what? When my quote-unquote brain came out of my head and they took me to the hospital, they covered me up, the doctor pronounced me dead. Matter of fact, that doctor lives in Miami, and he said, young lady, you're not supposed to be alive, you know. I remember you dead, I pronounced you dead. Young lady, you're not supposed to be alive. And I tell you a secret, my mother don't like you. Because of that. But, you know what, I was in a coma for 10 days straight, and then a while after that. And then the prognosis and diagnosis was I was going to stay in a coma. And then even when I got out of the coma, I was not supposed to walk again or talk again, and I would be, the diagnosis that I was going to be a vegetable for the rest of my life. And guess what? You know, Dominica doesn't have the best medical facilities. Yes, I went to Martinique for initial treatment. But I came back to Dominica right after, and guess what? I'm here with you. I've lived and I've worked on every continent except Antarctica. And yes, I have a couple of degrees and I have a PhD, and I'm doing this work after having this accident. And you know what has me here? Natural herbal remedies, natural plant-based, and not just bush, but the therapies. This lady from my village would come to my home and rub me down with different bushes. She would mash up together, rub me down, rub me down, rub me down. And my father and a man named Koki, I would take me to in front of the church in Soufriere Point Mission. You know Soufriere is where they have sulfur. So send me like here, Soufriere, Souf, related to sulfur. They would dig a hole. There was no pool at the time. They would dig and put me under the water would come up under the earth. I had no feeling at the time, and mind you, I had no feeling, no movement. They would just carry me around like a big lump. And I made them bigger and bigger as I was just laying there. Bigger and bigger and bigger. I was like 136 pounds at the start, and I got like 2 something at the end. I got bigger and bigger, and they would put me in that hole and massage me with the water and beat my leg, beat me. And lo and behold, one day, they put me in the hole, and I said, "Ay!" Because I felt the water was hot, and I felt it. And my father said, "You feel that, man?" I said, "Yes, it's hot." And then they said, "Oh my gosh, you can feel," and they started beating and kept on doing it. So that's local remedies. Those are the things we have, and they continue to do that for me. I continue doing a few little things of therapy and stretching with the local hospital in Dominica, and then I had to wait 2 years to go to the US to put a plate, because literally there was no covering in my brain. It was just a little piece over here. You could see the rest of my brain. You could see my heart beating with the rest of my brain. You could literally see it. So I had to go to get the treatment to cover, to put a plate in my head. And guess what? When I got to America, they did the surgery. 3 times. The first one didn't work. You had to go back in, take it off. They put a second one. It melted. It was bone sauce, the putty. It pulverized into millions of pieces, of thousands of pieces, and they had to go back They took it up, it didn't work. We had to go back a little bit and put up the one. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because we assume sometimes the medicine out there can just fix things. But it doesn't always just fix things. Yes, I had to stay there and do different things. They started monitoring what was happening, started doing different things. But it was the natural remedies, the natural treatment that really got me to be able to even go on to do those things. So when I think of my own life, natural, herbal, plant-based, local remedies, that's what saved my life. That was happening with you today, and I can share it with pride. I can share it and say, you know what, let's do what we have to do. And I'm going to do a few excerpts from the book because at the end of the day, what we need is accessibility and affordability. And I'll tell you this, when I went to, even up to today, I think we probably owe Matthew $250,000. Affordability, can we afford some of the treatments? Is it accessible to us? Meaning, can we go and find it? Do we have it? So we need to rely on what we have in our resources, our environment. Because accessibility, having access to what we need, and being able to afford it is a key issue. And one of the things we want to empower people to do is to keep themselves where they need to be so that they're not lost, to try to find some quick pill, to try to find medicine that may not exist for us in the Caribbean. Maybe one day, but for now, we don't even need that. We have what we need. We have what we need. So I want to read something to you from the book itself. And the issue is that accessibility and affordability has to be at the forefront. We have to be able to have access to medicine. So herbal physicians, I'm reading from page 71. Herbal physicians tend to use traditional natural remedies that readily are available in local communities and are relatively affordable, making them accessible to the wider population. This has been credited with contributing to earlier intervention. That means if we're going to address what we have to do earlier, we're not going to get chronically ill. And this better prepares us for management and prevention of chronic diseases and chronic conditions. But the advent of modern medicine has often thrown us away from our traditional path. So that's one of the things we want to focus on, knowing that we have what's available and affordable and accessible to us. But beyond that, I want to kind of bring to your attention that sometimes even the synthetic drugs we take, they don't do the best for us. For example, the experience this is page 20, the experience with attempts to heal our organic body with synthetic drugs. And the challenge of healing an organic body with synthetic pharmaceutical drugs, while they serve a definite purpose, yes, they have a purpose, but we are not here to bash the conventional medicinal approach. They have their role. But what do we do before that, before we need them? We should not even need them. We can prevent ourselves from needing them. While they have a purpose, and indeed they serve a definite purpose, they continue to pervade and highlight some of the issues and the need for natural, holistic, wholesome options for healing and well-being. Why? Because the majority of synthetic medicines have limited scope. They also overemphasize symptom management. So instead of healing a disease or illness, they focus on a particular symptom. So one pill will take care of the headache. Another pill, the headache gave you a dry mouth, and another pill for the dry mouth. The pill for the dry mouth gave you an ulcer, now you need another pill for the ulcer. And then the ulcer affects your kidney, so now you need something else for your kidney, but then the one for your kidney also affects your liver. And so one of the things we go in the book here, we identify some of the typical drugs we use in the Caribbean and went over some of those effects that come on. As my colleague Deja always says, pharmaceutical drugs don't just bring on side effects, they give you effects. Those side effects are the effects. That is what comes with it. And all of them say, they all state that in there. So for example, some typical drugs we have, and we go into some of the organs that are key for our sustenance and key for our For example, on page 31, we have the heart. And the heart, you know, is a powerful muscular organ. And hypertensive medicine, which is hypertensive medicine is the most used medicine around the world. That's why we focus on it as specifically. So at the bottom, for example, the hypertensive medicine, especially the ones we take here across the Caribbean, they work for relaxing the blood vessels, yes. But antihypertensive drugs, particularly the beta blockers, cause side effects. And what are some of those? Decreased heart rate, reduced cardiac output, and those contribute to heart failure. So you're taking one medicine for high blood pressure, but it kills your heart. So the book goes into a specialist on the organs and then document what happens with some of these medicines that we take all this time, often and often and often. So I encourage you to read and educate yourself, not just, hey, what bush for this, what bush for that, but what we're already doing. Let's examine what we're already doing, what we are doing and doing to us. Learn about it, learn about the key organs, what we need to do to strengthen it, and so forth. And again, I thank you for being here. I welcome you to this opportunity to be informed and to move forward with positive outcomes for health and well-being. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Deja to introduce himself, and we're going to go into the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lockhart. And that gave us a nice background of your thoughts and how the work that you've been doing alongside Mr. Deja. So now we're going to have Mr. Deja, who's the co-author of this wonderful book, giving you a presentation on healing herbs.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everyone, for taking your precious time to come to listen to this message of healing. And I want to say specifically, this message doesn't belong to me. It belongs to us, because this message is part of our cultural heritage, a heritage that we have as part of the medium to preserve our life. As we know, we have over centenarians in St. Lucia. Likewise in Dominica. I'm going to speak to them. What do they tell you? In my growing up, I drank a lot of herbal teas. We eat fresh fruits and vegetables. We eat organic foods. Can we speak the same way in this present era? No. But the testimonies are still around. I think it's justifiable for me to give you an idea of where I started upon this journey. About 24 years ago, I worked at one of the major pharmacies in Dominica. I can say that I was taught by the best pharmacists on the island, and I dispensed pharmaceutical drugs. I served individuals on a one-on-one basis. I had the opportunity to interact with the persons that I served. Also had the opportunity to revise the medical books on the person that I served. To my amazement, whenever a drug is being prescribed for hypertension or diabetes, flipping through the pages of the medical books, I would see drugs increasing rather than decreasing. And the further you flip, you would see from one drug to two drugs, 3 drugs, 4 drugs, and the list goes on. And that made me question my occupation. I said to myself, why wasn't the person going to heal from this drug medication after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of their life? You know what? The conclusion of the matter is amputation. You have a sore, it cannot cure. The solution or the limitation of the medical establishment is to remove the leg. And these are the things I considered and had to make a radical decision because I did not accept the information. I said there must be something else, there must be something different. And this led me upon the journey, or embarked upon the journey to find what is the origin of medicine. And I was navigated to Mother Nature, and it revealed to me that the herbs in our environment, that's the original source of medicines that we should be consuming. And thus I dedicated my life to study the herbal medicines, and I took my life and every cell of my body to find out the meaning of healing. I take some time off just to make you meditate on what I'm saying to you. Because I want you to also know that I came to St. Lucia as your brother, as your friend, not as one that has all the answers to your questions. But the little that I've found have shown significant changes in people's life. Many conditions we were told that is incurable. We have seen the reversal of these conditions. And this gave me an extra drive to further do research, further go into the plant kingdom, and found remedies that we had for millenniums unexplored. Why? Because we were taught that what we have is inferior and what is out there is superior. Beautiful people, that is not the facts. That's not the truth. You know, I found that the only substance that can complement an organic body has to be an organic substance. Can you understand what you're repeating yourself? The only substance that can complement every one of us in there has to be a substance your body is made of. And we have organic of our very nature. So the evidence of using synthetic drugs, trying the intention of perception with a natural body, has been fertile, has been unfruitful. That's why we are seeing the increase in hypertension, the increase in diabetes, the increase in cancer. And the saddest thing about it, we keep on doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And do you know what's the definition of such doing? They call it insanity. And I'm looking at St. Lucia, Dominica, and the rest of the Caribbean. Why are the numbers increasing in non-communicable diseases? Why are the numbers increasing in cancer? And yet still, we are on the same path. So I'm here to tell you that we need a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift is not far-fetched. All we need to do is to go back to Mother Nature. Because Mother Nature was created for us for well-being. In St. Lucia, I know that we are 40 bound people. Different denominations, different religious beliefs. That is why I will use the Bible as a foundation of what I do. I can bring to your awareness that the very books of Genesis, it teaches us that the Creator made the herbs with seeds thereof, and it shall be for your food. And we should all be aware of that our food should be our medicine. If you have not seen that verse in Genesis, you have the privilege to look at the Psalms. The psalmist told us that the grass is for the cattle, and the herbs is for the service of man. Excuse you if you have not seen the Psalms. Oh, good brother, the prophet Ezekiel reminded us that the fruits of the tree is for our food, and the leaves shall be for our medicine. I further excuse you if you have not been aware of the prophet Ezekiel. The book of Revelations concludes by giving us the awareness that the herbs are for the healing of nations. Are we not a nation? Yes, we are nations. Why are we not utilizing the herbs? Why are we not considering this biblical essence? Most of us go to church. Why? Because we want to be saved. Are you aware of the gospel of healing is part and parcel of the gospel of salvation? Are we aware of that? Our pastors or preachers are they preaching this in the church? Take your herbal medicines. You can attest to me, but I can tell you no. But why? Is it a disbelief? Yet still we say Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior. But the very book that confirms Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior speaks about the herbs. Are we putting a blind eye to this message? My beautiful people, going back to Mother Nature is the greatest thing you can do. Going back to Mother Nature can rejuvenate every cell of your body. Going back to Mother Nature can replenish these imbalances or these deficiencies that we psychotrically encounter. Even further, in my research, I found that whenever you consume pharmaceutical drugs for a period of 3 to 5 years, especially in concoction, benzofurazide, atenolol, linsidopril, nifedipine, and a host of drugs that we take for hypertension. When we take them in concoction, we put us also at a greater risk of these side effects. And these side effects, namely, impairing your vital organs, namely your kidneys. Are we not seeing an increase in dialysis of the island of St. Lucia? I can speak for the middle, yes. It also states that you impair your optic nerve. Are we not seeing an increase in cataracts and glaucoma and blindness? But you know what we say, oh, the body is deteriorating. The body is inferior. My beautiful people of St. Lucia, we are wonderfully made. We were made by the Creator. His knowledge is infinite, it doesn't end. And He has designed our body to heal itself. We have all the mechanisms that we need internally to heal itself. But why are we not healing ourselves? Because the medium we choose for treating this organic body is totally contradictory to our makeup. We are already made by very nature. We look at our blood. What is the predominant mineral in our blood? Is it not iron? We look at our bones. What is the predominant mineral in our bones? Is it not calcium? And do you know some of these synthetic drugs, they will leach nutrients in the body? For example, you may take a drug, for example, you have categories of drugs, namely diuretics. Diuretics is said to remove excess fluid from your body. Do you know that diuretics also depletes your potassium content? The levels of potassium in your body? And research, empirical research, have shown us that if your body has sufficient potassium, it is impossible to get hypertension. Are we aware of these things? Because we know that sodium is one of the culprits that can bring about such condition. But yet, we keep on walking on the same path that have shown us to be not fruitful. There is no healing properties in synthetic drugs. But yet still, we continue to pop pills, expecting a different result. So I'm here to share with you, most and foremost, my experience. Because I'm thankful for many natural healers in St. Lucia. Dr. St. Rose, who I met a few years ago while coming to St. Lucia for my first time attending the International Conference on Herbal Medicine. I have seen many other herbal practitioners. This evening, I'm sharing with you my personal experience. Healing, my beautiful people, is part and parcel of life. Science also educates us on the healing mechanisms that all of us here, or inborn intelligence, can identify with this message of healing. Do you know that within a period of 90 days, you can have new blood? Are you aware of that? Are you aware within a period of time, your cells, your organs can rejuvenate itself? But it cannot do that if Because every herb that we have contains what we call phytonutrients, antioxidants. We mentioned zinc, we mentioned iron, we mentioned calcium. And do you know that science has shown us that we are a mineral factory? If you're deficient, you're going to get sick. Why are we not considering this message of healing for the medium of the plants? I work for the city of Castries. There's a specific herb they call, in Dominican they call it coupe. I don't know what they call it in St. Lucia. Because of its mineral content. Person is a rich source of potassium. And it is safe. With no side effects. Do we know that the herb called, we call it in Dominica, Vevenachiwat, also known as blue vervain, scientifically known as Verbena hastata. Do you know that the alkaloids in this plant can rejuvenate you from a cellular level? But you know what? We spray them with bronazole. We pee on them, we shit on them. Excuse my language. But that's the truth. We consider them to be bush. To remain in this ignorance. Because persons thrive on our ignorance. And it is sad. Because when we should live a fruitful life, a life of hope and prosperity, a life of love, a life of being debt-free, we find ourselves in debt. We find ourselves being unhappy. We find ourselves being sick and diseased. And in our opinion, we don't have to be sick. We don't have to suffer from disease. Because we can't heal this body that we have. If anyone disagrees with me, please show a hand. I'm here to interact with you.
I just have one concern. I've been living for a long time. I've been around my family. And there was a certain Rasta woman that, there was a certain Rasta woman that was around, and she was living like real like that, because she had showed me through the herbs and the different things naturally. And for some reason, I don't know why, but she got diabetes, they said. And from that time, she went down and down and down until she just lost her life, like this year. So I just wonder if it's herbs alone and eating right, or does it come with the spirituality and the humbleness of one's being? Because that's what it really showed me. Because certain ways people live with one another, not showing the love towards one another. Like, it no matter if you're doing the herbs and you're eating right and you're doing, because I still lost another patient of mine. He got a stroke, they said, and then it wasn't even 6 months yet, and then he got a blood clot in his heart, and he passed away. You know, so, and he was a man, they said he had high blood pressure, because he was a man, before any little thing he would have raged. You know, I always used to tell him, like, you know, that raging thing, you have to pull out and that, and then kind of away. So I just want to know if it's just the herbs alone or if it comes with other stuff.
Definitely. We need to understand that every illness, sad that you encounter, there is a root cause. Diabetes, there's a root cause. Hypertension is a root cause. Cancer is a root cause. I don't think life is so unfair that you'll be walking under the rain and some raindrops falling on you, boom, you got diabetes. Or boom, you got hypertension. These conditions are what we call acquired condition. Don't get me indoctrinated to understand that these conditions, we are taught that it's genetic conditions. But the science proves this to be ill. And I can listen to us. If these conditions are genetic, please tell me in what era did our cells transform to be so ill? In what era? Because we have the documented information 50 years ago. We was not in this dilemma we are in today. With the approach that we have seen results, it stems from first nutrition. We are what we eat. Just like how you build your house, you need to have a plan to build your health. That is why we will first recommend that you do what we call a detoxification plan. And this is not new. Because I can attest to you in St. Lucia, likewise in Dominica, and the rest of the Caribbean, or grandparents, you see us what they call a washout. Are you aware of that? We have distractions going to. And our grandparents never had the privilege to read any scientific novel or any scientific books, but yet, this was inborn knowledge. Knowledge carried on from generations to generations. And do you know from this present era, we are more enlightened. The process of detoxification is the process of removing excess waste and toxins in our environment. And it was not possible by accident. We are African people. We are black people. Sometimes when I call and I say, 500 years ago, we were enslaved. Our slave masters orchestrated to keep us down, to make us be extinct upon this earth. Do you know in this present time, we are still depending on our slave masters for medicine and our food? Why? And we are ill and die from cancer, and yet still we continue the same path, my beautiful people. We need a paradigm shift. And if there's anyone who does this evening, I'm going to give you one of my personal experiences out of many. I was challenged by a medical doctor and even the nurses. They said, Mr. Taylor, you're speaking of herbal medicine or bush medicine in Dominica. So suppose you have someone that is in an intense or in a case of trauma or an accident. Are you going to give a bush medicine? At the time, I had no experience. I probably like to say, but if you don't explore this medium, how can we make assumptions that it will not work? Only when we explore the medium, we can find out what is therein. In 2019, I had this patient that had a heart attack. And this patient was brought to the ICU intensive care unit in Dominica. She was in her late 60s, about 68. I went to see the patient with these holes in her nose and all these mechanisms, these machines, her entire body inflamed. Her blood pressure was skyrocketing, her sugar was skyrocketing. She could not stand for too long because she was very busy. After a month, the doctors recommended that we fly her out to Martinique or to Barbados. But hear this, the fee was about 75,000 euros. We have the ability